When a man searching for his missing brother at sea is attacked by a giant lobster monster, he and his team end up on an island filled with evil humans and a dormant Godzilla. These plots just keep getting more wild. Join us as we discuss Ebirah, Horror of the Deep. Welcome everyone to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me as always is David.
Come in peace.
This is a science fiction movie podcast, and today we're returning to the Godzilla franchise. We've been working through the early days of Godzilla, having done some of the modern movies, of course, already, but last year we started with the original, and we're up to, I think, the 7th movie in the franchise, which is Ebirah, Horror of the Deep, which is also known as Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, I think. But I'm pulling that out of memory. I didn't check that, but I think that's the alternate title.
I believe you're correct, but I also think that's literally just used for MST3K. I don't think it was actually used on like any sort of release.
No, that's fair enough. But it does pop up sometimes when you're looking for Ebirah. They made a generic Godzilla sounding title for it. Which is maybe more of a hindsight thing, because Godzilla versus something is something that actually became normal later. It wasn't normal yet at this point, but...
It's strange to me we could be so deep into Godzilla lore and we still have a movie that does not have Godzilla in the name. Like, that feels like it doesn't have to be Godzilla versus all the time, but I still expect Godzilla to be somewhere in there.
There's going to be a few. I mean, obviously, the next one or two does, but, like, you know, we have... Like, coming up soon, we're going to have Destroy All Monsters, All Monsters Attack, and stuff like that. So, yeah, there's a few that don't have his name in it at all.
Yeah, but weird.
Yeah, hey-ho. But yes, so we'll start spoiler-free, as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get to the spoilers, and if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, hit the like button, helps out a bunch if you can. And, of course, you can support everything and help keep the show coming over at Patreon and get some bonuses. But I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. So... yeah, the premise of this one is that a sea monster named by Ebirah, who's got big pincers, he's very kind of, I was going to say crab-like, but maybe that's not the right, maybe more...
I was thinking, like lobster.
Lobster, yeah, more lobstery.
Yeah.
And he's attacking boats near this island, but there's also a secret military terrorist group who are doing... shady things on this island with slaves, so that's also going on. So we'll get to that more in spoilers probably, but that's a whole thing that's happening. And there's some main characters who get caught up in the middle of everything who aren't really involved in any of this stuff directly. They just kind of end up there for other reasons, and all this meets to a head, and everything clashes, and there's hijinks along the way. So that's the basic premise. And I won't say how Godzilla comes into the story, but he does obviously come into the story at a certain point. I may actually love how he comes into the story in this particular one.
Okay. All right. That's interesting, but all right.
I mean, I'm not saying it's like objectively good. I'm saying that I love it. There's a difference here.
Right. Gotcha.
All right. So yes, that's the basic setup. So, you know, we'll just start off with a simple question. David, what did you think of Ebirah, Horror of the Deep?
I think, and I know that our next movie, Son of Godzilla, has like this thing around it, but I think that I've kind of started crossing the threshold of, okay, I'm okay with the corniness. I'm okay with the good. I'm all right with it being like a little bit stupid at times. I do think that there are aspects of this movie where it is literally dancing on the line of maybe too stupid, but for the most part, I'm generally okay with this one. In terms of positives, I think that the effects, like, I don't know if it's miniatures or cross-compositing or whatever they were doing to make Ebirah work in the water, was fantastic. I think it looks really, really good as an introduction to the character. I think that it's creative and not inherently bad, that it takes a long time for Godzilla to, like, get active in this movie. I think that's it's not a bad thing. It is just interesting to see how they did it. And then I think some of the characters are like pretty fun to be around, but other ones I'm like, why are you here? What are you contributing to this story? Beyond that, I mean, it's corny. It's absolutely crossing into that full corniness territory. It's not having like any sort of real, oh no, the stakes have never been bigger. No, the stakes are small. The stakes are incredibly small, all things considered. But like, boy howdy, will they try to play it up. Yeah, no, I really, I don't want to come into this sounding like I'm super negative, because I'm not. But I also don't want to make it sound like I had a fantastic time, because I didn't. It was just a fun little romp, and it's like, yep, this is what Godzilla #7 is.
Yeah, I have fun with this one. There's just enough absurd elements to it that I think keep it entertaining. Between what's going on in the island, between the actual kind of cool look to Ebirah, right? Because it's a little bit different as far as the kaiju goes so far. And just like, I actually kind of like the human plot to an extent, right? It's not always firing on all cylinders, but there's kind of a fun kind of like, I don't know, this is kind of weird that this group of characters ended up together and now they're here. Like, it's just like, okay, this isn't doing the same old thing, and I kind of appreciate that. But yeah, it's a fun romp. That's basically what it is. It's never going to be considered one of the better Godzilla movies. It's never going to be considered like a serious good film by any stretch. But I think at its like 86-minute runtime, it is perfectly succinct and is entertaining to watch. And I would say that. It's interesting that this is actually not the first one in general, because Godzilla Raids Again was a different director, but this is the first one since Godzilla Raids Again, which was kind of an oddity on its own, and not directed by Ishiro Honda. This is Jun Fukuda who is directing this one. Who and then Honda's not done for good. Like he is back for some more, but neither's Fukuda. He ends up coming back for some later sequels as well. So it's interesting, because the one big difference I noticed in the direction of this one compared to the others is that Fukuda is not scared of a Dutch angle. He will happily put a few of those in, and it's not overdone. I'm not saying he's not Branagh, right? He's not putting Dutch angles in every other shot, but there is some Dutch, like when there's a Dutch angle of Godzilla, I'm like, oh, we have never seen Godzilla with this angle before, and it's sticking out to me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It definitely felt like there was some creative camera work here. There's like every once in a while you get like a snap zoom or something like that, just like the characters noticing something. You get
a lot of snaps in this one.
Yeah. Very snap. Look, I forgot to mention this up front. The one thing that I do want to just straight up criticize.
Okay.
The soundtrack. It's
he didn't like the jazz and the swingy stuff.
Look, there is a point in this movie where I'm watching Ebirah come out of the water and the music is playing and it's all like 60s kind of like that kind of sound, and all I can hear is Rock Lobster, which does not make Ebirah a particularly menacing threat at that point.
Yeah, the music's kind of a weird choice. It obviously ties into the more corny vibe that it's going for, so I can respect at least a taste decision was made, but yeah, I think even in the cheesier entries, I would still like to at least have some kind of cool main themes or something that feels a bit epic, even if we're doing cheesy stuff by and large. Still treat the monsters like there's a little bit of mystique to them, at the very least.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because that's like, as soon as it comes up, I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel menacing. This just feels like it's this creature, and they're just this, it's not even like smooth jazz. It's like the poppy jazz as well. Yes. It's like something that's like, oh yeah, no, we're having a dance off. Yeah,
there's one scene where it almost looks like some monsters are having a dance off. They're not really, but they kind of are. Anyway, so yeah, a lot to talk about there. Obviously, there's a bunch of things to say plot-wise, which we'll leave for now. As far as anything else goes, I mean, I will say one thing I was noticing a lot in this one is, regardless of the shot or what was happening, almost every time there was a close-up of Godzilla's face, you could see at least one of the strings in the background for his tail. And I was like, it was like constantly there, even when like there was no reason for it to be. And I guess there's a consistency element to that, but it's like it's more noticeable because I'm in a close-up right now. And then so I like that was something that was sticking out to me a little bit. A minor downgrade.
Yeah, I had the same sort of thing, not for the Ebirah out in the water shots, but anytime there was a land shot that had compositing, specifically, well, it's a plot beat, so I can't say it, but specifically there's a character/characters who need to be composited in, and I don't know what it was, the color grading, whatever it was obvious. Like, here's the little circle that we cut out, and there's the character painted in.
Yeah. Like, that stuff is pretty obvious. You know, obviously the setting of this one is largely just an island, so there's no cities, there's no nothing like that. I mean, you could critique that and say that's like saving some money on budget stuff because like there's not as much to like worry about building or anything like that. But honestly, like we've had that, so much of the previous movies do at least one big scene in the city, if not like several, that I honestly felt fine for this one to just kind of be what it is, because it's like, oh no, this is set around this island because this is where the water monster is, and we're just going to sort of like do stuff around here. Now, admittedly, if we get like maybe a few in a row where they all seem to take place around an island with not a lot of buildings, I'm going to start to raise an eyebrow and be like, okay, you're just like constantly cutting corners here for the sake of budgets.
I mean, what are the odds that at some point in the future we're going to get something called, I don't know, Monster Island or something like that? That seems ridiculous to me. Yeah,
so it's just, you know, it's I think it's fine in this one. I could see it maybe growing into a bit of a pet peeve if it keeps being a thing. But I think here it felt fine because it felt a little bit different from the previous ones. So, you know, because the last one had more space stuff in it. We were on a different planet, you know, stuff like that. This is like, no, now we're doing just a desert island kind of setting, and that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, I think if you look over our previous reviews, the idea that the production value does feel like it's slowly ticking down. It feels like each entry is getting just a little bit cheaper each time. Maybe sometimes you'll get a great director or a great, like, way that they use the monster that makes it feel more expensive than it is, but it still feels like we're slowly ticking down until finally it's going to be like, here's $5, get the suit.
Yes, and we'll watch the suit slowly deteriorate between movies as they don't replace it as often as they should. So yeah, I mean, honestly, there's not too much more to say before we get to spoilers, because it is mostly plot beat stuff and sort of like what they do with the fights and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, as far as anything else goes, it's visually interesting at times. It's a little bit different than the previous movies, like I said, more Dutch angles, a bit more creativity in some respects. And not even that the previous films weren't creative, just more that they had settled into a set routine, and this one's kind of shaken it up a little bit. So yeah. I mean, I wouldn't even say it feels like we got that much in the routine. I think it's just the back-to-back Ghidorah in the previous ones made it feel like we had kind of established the language of it, how we were going to handle this, and this one's just like, now we're going back to basics. Random ass monster pops up somewhere on Earth, and Godzilla's got to deal with it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just have a spoiler warning. We'll get into it because I'm not sure how much more we could say. Not that there's a ton to spoil, but you know, warning all the same. For Ebirah, Horror of the Deep. So the premise of this movie starts off with our main character, who is named Ryota, and he is looking for help from a journalist because his brother went missing on a boat somewhere in the south of the country, and he is begging for help, but he believes that his brother's still alive because a psychic told him that his brother was still alive. And when he's waiting in the waiting room for the journalist to come back and talk to him, he sees a poster for a dance competition. That sounds insane as I'm saying it out loud.
It does. I'm sitting here listening to it, and I'm like, I dare not interrupt because the spell will be broken.
Yeah, and he goes to this dance competition, and it's, you know, it's one of those sort of like dance-a-thons where you have to, you know, last person dancing wins something. And I was like, oh, I guess he gave up on his brother, and he just wants to win the dance competition. And it wasn't until it like sort of looked over and showed me what the prize was. Winner gets a yacht, and I'm like, oh, he wants to win a yacht to go find his brother. This is actually the perfect competition for him to get involved in. But of course, it's already started. He's too late. He can't just join in halfway through. So these two other characters that turn out to be two of our kind of main group come over, they're sweating, they've tapped out, they're like, oh god, our stamina's terrible, we can't win, yada yada. But Ryota starts talking about how, you know, he really needs a yacht, and he wants to see a yacht, and and they're like, let's drive him up the coast, we'll show him a yacht, whatever. And they drive to the docks, and they look at yachts, and Ryota, being from like a small village or something, is not used to the big city life, and is like, do you own all these yachts? And they're like, what? No, of course we don't.
I was fully expecting him to go like, yes, we're very rich and you can't use any of them.
So they break in to one of the yachts that just happens to be open. They go in and they just snoop around. They just want to look at it. They're not stealing it or anything. At least that's not the plan, it seems like. And they open up the cupboards. There's a bunch of food stocked up and they're impressed with it. And then out comes what appears to be the owner of the yacht, emphasis on appears, with a gun and saying, "What are you doing here?" And they're like, "Oh, sorry, our friend here just wanted to see a yacht, yada, yada, yada." And he's like, or I'll tell you what, you can spend the night, but in the morning you go. And I'm like, wait, what? You're letting them spend the night? What is going on here? Why would you say that to strangers? It doesn't make sense. Maybe it makes a little more sense, not entirely, but maybe it makes more sense for him to say that than the owner of the yacht. Because it turns out, once they start listening to the radio the next day, right, because they wake up, the boat's already sailing, Ryota has taken it upon himself to set sail, right, and they're already in the open waters, and they're all freaking out. And the problem is, though, is it turns out that the guy who we thought was the owner of this boat has no idea how to sail. And that's our first big clue. And then they listen to the radio, and number one, a yacht's been stolen, and it was fully stocked and all the rest of it, which at first could just mean them. It could just mean that they stole it, right?
It could be, but I think they also specifically say, like, owned by famous American businessman Jerry Conway. It's like, this guy doesn't look like Jerry Conway.
Yeah, that's not him. And then the second news report starts talking about a thief who made away with like 10 billion yen. And this is basically where this character, who I'm just going to call the thief, starts like dropping little lines about how he knows how to pick locks or he knows how to like do this or that. Yeah. But he'll never admit that he's the thief they're talking about on the radio, but he clearly is.
I don't know. I was almost annoyed with that at a point. Not that he didn't admit to it. Like, I'm fine with him never actually saying it out loud. But it's the other two characters, the dancers, who, like, every single time he drops a line, they're like, "You really are the thief, aren't you?" And I'm like, guys, I thought we figured this out at minute 5. Why are you still confused by this?
I think it's a tone thing. See if they said it every time, but it was like, "Yeah, you're really the thief, aren't you?" And then he just refused to answer. It would just be like a recurring gag more than it would be like them not getting it. But yeah, it does kind of feel like they're earnestly like not convinced, right? Yet.
Just every time they're just like, "But did you steal the money?" And he's just like, "I'll never tell."
So the reason why I ran through all of that in one basically big chunk is because that's the crazy part of the plot, I would argue, is the way we go from brother meets sidekick who says his brother's still alive, he goes to journalist, then dancing competition, meets these two guys, they happen to break onto a yacht, encounter what seems to be the owner, but is actually a thief who's also just squatting on the yacht and hiding, and then they're on their ways, they're sailing to potentially where his brother is.
Yes. What's crazy to me is that, like, the first thing in that, the very first thing is, I guess Ryota's mother is, like, talking to the psychic. Yes. And the psychic is saying, like, "Oh, he's still alive. He's still out there." And, of course, that inspires hope in them both. And I almost kind of just glossed over how crazy the rest of the intro was, because I kept expecting the psychic thing to come back. Like, I kept expecting that part to be a thing. But, yeah, when you spell it all out, none of this matters. None of this ever comes back up again. It's
such a wild chain of events. I mean, maybe the thief has a couple of skills that he wouldn't otherwise have if he wasn't a thief, but that's about it, really.
I mean, you could introduce him as a thief any number of ways. True. Like, it didn't need to be this.
It's a very weird, specific chain of events, but ultimately the boat gets attacked by giant pincers because Ebirah appears. And that ends up being their demise when they wash ashore an island. And then the other crazy part of the plot is, oh, by the way, this island has a secret base for... I mean, at first I was like, oh, it's just some secret military group. But it's like, nah, they are like an organized terrorism organization who are, one, making this weird yellow liquid that repels Ebirah, which kind of keeps Ebirah away from their boats, because that's when we first see this boat spraying yellow stuff out. And then secondly, they're making what they call in the subtitles, at least, heavy water, which is used to make nuclear weapons. So we're back to nuclear weapons for a Godzilla movie.
I actually really like that. I like the idea from the larger perspective that they found an island that is otherwise impossible to approach because there is a kaiju protecting it. And they also found a way that they can pass through safely. And that is absolutely the best place that you would want to be storing like nukes and like weapons and your terrorist army and whatnot, because it is 100% safe for you guys. What's insane to me is the idea that they need to have a slave labor force on this island to produce the yellow liquid. Like, this seems like the sort of thing you would want to have offshore, because it's completely benign. This isn't something you need to keep secret.
Yeah, I mean, we find out though their labor force are all kidnapped from Infant Island, which is Mothra's home base, so that ends up becoming a big plot point, of course. You know, and like the one girl who gets away from the captors runs into her main characters, so she joins that group, and we learn a bunch of stuff. Okay, so right, so you're hoping Mothra's going to come and save you, but Mothra's not quite woken up yet. Still getting big from the.
You say that. They keep showing the worship like ceremony on Infant Island, where they're all doing their dance and singing their song. And every other time we've had this, Mothra has either been a larva or has been like fully asleep. This time it's just Mothra, bug-eyed, sitting there, just not moving. And I guess that's supposed to mean it's asleep, but it just looks like it's a still frame photo, which, to be honest, it is. Yeah,
it probably was. I think that's fair. So yeah, I mean this is the crazy setup, and the first and like there's like a whole like little sequence where they try and sneak into the base to like get stuff to help or find a way off the island or whatever, and they discover some of the weapons that are in there, which becomes like a plot point and whatnot. And they get separated.
The thief guy earlier on made a skeleton key. So he's able to just walk up to pretty much any lock on the island and just chicka, okay, I'm in.
Yeah. And they also find Godzilla sleeping inside the cave they're hiding in. And they're like, oh shit, that's scary. Well, we'll come back to that later. And it's after they go on this little mission, which ends pretty poorly because one of the two dancers gets nabbed by the fascists and gets put in the cell where all the workforce slaves are producing this yellow liquid. So he finds out some stuff that's useful.
He just name drops Deo, the girl. It's just like, I'm a friend of Deo. And they're just like, oh, okay, you're chill. You're cool. What's up?
Meanwhile, our main boy, Ryota, he so we established these like balloon things that the bad guys have got that kind of like float over the island. He like grabs onto one of them that's launching and just sort of floats away. And what's funny is Dea says, hey, maybe he can make his way to Infant Island, which is apparently not too far away. And funnily enough, a couple scenes later, we just cut to him landing in Infant Island. Was he directing this? Was he like somehow navigating towards Infant Island?
That was Mothra using Mothra powers. Yeah. No, the other part of it is almost as soon as they meet Deo, as soon as they get separated out from everything, she just says, oh yeah, I'm from Infant Island, you know, the one where Mothra's from. And immediately Ryota's like, was there a Japanese guy there? Did he wash up on your island? She's like, there was a guy. His name was Yada. And for some reason, that wasn't enough. She says the name and he's like, okay, but how old is he? And just like, I don't know, like mid-20s or something. And he's like, that's my brother.
Yeah, the name should have been a giveaway, perhaps. I mean, unless maybe Yada's just such a common name. He's being extra careful. He's like, you know.
It's the equivalent of saying, yeah, you know, John washed up on our island. It's like, all right, well, Tall John, Red John, what are we talking about?
Yeah. So it's, you know, like basically once they're separated in the R3, the thief, the one dancer, and Deo are left alone. It's like, oh, what can we possibly do to help? How do we fight back against this group? Because they're so powerful. They're looking for us. They've got guns. It's all scary. And then the dancer's like, we wake up Godzilla. And I'm like, yes, this is great. I love this. I love the idea that humans actively like bringing him up, like waking him up to get into the action. And the method that they choose is wild to me because they're like, let's have him be struck by a bolt of lightning. And I'm like, okay, well, how often do you get lightning here exactly? And even if you get lightning, what's the guarantee it'll hit your... Because they basically just stick up a sword that they found as like the lightning rod at the top of the cave, and they have like a wire going down to hit Godzilla. And I'm like, you don't have a pamphlet on you that says the clock tower is going to get struck by lightning at this time on Saturday night, okay? This is not Back to the Future. You're just... And the gall, we actually cut ahead a couple of days, and look, the one guy's like... Man, it's been 3 days waiting for this lightning. It's taking ages. I'm like, it could literally be a year. It could be a year until lightning happens.
Storm season's over. Look, maybe, I know there's a little bit of like typhoon season or whatever like that in the like Japanese South Sea. Maybe this is exactly during that period. And they're like, we wait a few days, another storm's going to roll through. No problem.
Look, I'm acknowledging here that like how often I get lightning and thunder is not necessarily equal to other parts of the world. And I don't really know the frequency and how ridiculous it is to say that. But for me, it's like noticeably lightning maybe like 2 or 3 times a year, something like that.
So if Back to the Future was set in Scotland, it would be like, but we do know where it'll strike. Here, 6 months from now.
Dear. To be fair, it's a coincidence in Back to the Future that it happens to be like a week away, right? Because it could have really been any time. It just happens to be a week away for the sake of the plot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Got to keep those things tight. And I mean, didn't Doc even say something like, maybe there's some strange cosmic vortex or whatever around that date that makes it so significant?
No.
It's probably just a coincidence.
No, that's in the second movie, but I actually have an explanation for that I brought up in the review for Back to the Future Part 2.
Well, I guess people will have to go back and check out that review. Yeah. Anyway, the other thing that was going on is, before we get into the waking up section, because that does lead just into the rest of the fight.
Yes.
Is back on Infant Island as the brothers are reunited. They're basically told, okay, well, you should stay here. We're going to get Mothra to help. And he's like, no, we have to go over. We have to help. Your people are being tortured and forced to like slave labor over there. So we got to go save them. And so the little fairy princess girls are like, okay, well, when you get over there, instruct the people to make a really big net. And they're like, why? And they're like, just shut up and do it. It's going to be important.
So they canoe their way back, which luckily they don't get nabbed by Ebirah, because that was definitely a possibility.
No, they do, because that's the thing. Remember, they're rowing their way towards the island, and it starts storming.
Yeah, but they don't get like killed. Like, they could have easily just died on the way, but luckily they just kind of wash ashore again.
Yeah, I feel like they probably would have, but it just so happens during that storm that the lightning strikes and it wakes up Godzilla.
Wakes up Big G, which honestly, like I love the sort of like childish personality that's been developed over the last few movies for Godzilla. There's just a couple of fun little moments of like, this is much later in the movie, but like when Mothra flies in towards the end of the movie, the way he sort of notices Mothra and is like, wait, I've got beef with you. It's just like so good to me. It's like, because there's so much personality in that little look. And I really like that. But before we get to that,
I mean, the last time that he met Mothra was during the first Ghidorah fight, right?
Yeah, and Mothra dragged him and Rodan kicking and screaming into the fight, so maybe he's still pissed about getting involved. Maybe that's what he's
like, I fell into the ocean because of you. How dare you?
I got hurt. I've been having some boo-boos here, and it's all your fault, Mothra, for making me do good.
That's the other thing, is that they don't even explain how Godzilla ended up on this island. It looks like he was like literally dropped from space or something into this mountain and just like passed out there.
He cuddled up into a mountain. Who cares? He's in a cave. It's whatever. So the whole thing with the first fight, and it was making me laugh because he picks up a rock, and you've been complaining that Godzilla keeps throwing rocks. Yeah. But I love that this went way further with it, because they start playing goddamn tennis with this rock. Godzilla throws the rock to Ebirah, who's still in the water, but he's standing up, and Ebirah just hits with the pincers like a tennis racket, just hits the rock back. Godzilla headbutts it like he's a goddamn footballer, and then Ebirah catches the rock in his pincer and is like, oh, I'm going to toss this back. You ready for this? I'm going to toss it back. And he throws it at him, and Godzilla just sort of whacks it away, and he's like, I'm coming at you.
I love how they do a little reaction shot after Ebirah catches it. Because it's like, he threw it, Ebirah swatted it back, Godzilla volleyed it back over with his head, and then Ebirah caught it. And Godzilla's reaction, I have to assume, was like, that's against the rules. You can't catch it. You can't do that.
But there is something he does that I think is kind of new, actually, for the first time here. Nothing like super like new in terms of concept. We just haven't seen him do a specific thing yet. Is he actually just fires his atomic breath at the water that Ebirah's in, and it just starts steaming up to hell, because obviously it's heating up exponentially.
So just to be clear, the rock, he bats it away. It ends up hitting like a guard tower or something, which triggers everyone to think, oh no, Godzilla's attacking us. Which, to be fair, later on he does straight up attack them, but right now it was an accident.
It did, but they've also got it coming, to be fair.
Yeah, no, they're terrorists for sure. But then Godzilla's like, all right, well, I'm out of rocks, so I'm going to come into the water. I'm going to kick your ass. And Ebirah just uses its claw to like splash water at Godzilla, just like splash, splash. And after like two of them, Godzilla's like, well, that's mildly annoying. Atomic breath into the water. And Ebirah just comes flying up out of it like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he skedaddles so we can do, because it's interesting how it's like an Ebirah movie, and then when Godzilla wakes up after their fight, Ebirah kind of vanishes for a bit, and we kind of sort of deal with just like, okay, how are the terrorist group going to react to Godzilla being around? And it's basically, send in our jets and stuff. This is a very well-funded group, by the way. They've got jets to come flying in.
Fair enough. Although, to be fair, the first thing that happens is he's kind of just like peeking over a mountainside as Deo got separated from the group. So he peeks over the mountainside. She is forced to stay there because I guess Godzilla just wants to hang out for a while.
I mean, she seems to think she can't move, which I'm not sure if that's true. I'm not sure if he would care that much if she just sort of walked off to the side and left, but
probably not. But then all of a sudden, Deo looks up because Godzilla's closing his eyes, and a giant, I assume, kaiju-sized bird.
It's a big bird.
It didn't seem like it's not a normal bird. Comes in and starts attacking Godzilla.
Yeah, it's a big bird. Big bird comes in, attacks. Godzilla, beats away at it a little bit. Ultimately wins by just literally atomic breathing it in the face, and then the whole thing just kind of sizzles and like goes into the water. And that was
he does it
satisfying.
He does what I assume is like a Japanese, like he like holds up a finger to his eye or something like that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what he was, because he does this thing after he's killed the bird, or at least won the fight, so the bird's not coming back. He does this little thing where I wasn't sure if he was like scratching his nose, kind of in the same way that someone, if to show that they're a badass, might just go like that with their shoulder. Like, I thought, is he just sort of scratching his nose to say, piece of cake? Or I almost thought though that he was talking to Dale, where he was like pointing up to say, aha, I did it. I got the bird.
Tell me if anything more is coming. I'm going back to sleep.
Yeah, and then that's when like 5 jets show up to try and of course Godzilla just destroys all these as well, because like they've got no chance.
Not only does he destroy all these, for some reason this is where a much more up-tempo jazzy track starts playing.
That's right.
And Godzilla, as far as I can tell, literally begins dancing. Like he's got a little pep in his step, and he's just kind of like swaying as all these jets are coming down.
He's stomping his feet, I think, to intimidate them, and it just happens to be in time to the really jazzy soundtrack that's happening. Was my take on it.
Okay, it seemed like dancing to me.
Yeah, but obviously Godzilla wins, because of course
obviously.
It does.
And I will say, I mean, it's been a while since we've had him straight up attack humans and jets, but obviously these are incredibly villainous humans, so it's okay. He can kill these guys.
Yeah, because the rest of the humans kind of treat him like, oh, he might step on us by accident because he's so big, but he's not actively coming after us. He doesn't care about us in that sense. To the point where maybe arguably the sweetest thing in the whole movie is right at the very end when we'll get to it, otherwise jump to it. But
when they were talking about waking up Godzilla, the dancing kid was like, yo, we gotta wake him up, he'll save us. And the thief's like, he'll kill us. He'll destroy the world. I was alive for Godzilla 1. And the kid's like, nah, Godzilla's cool. He wouldn't do that.
So, yeah, I mean, from here, there's obviously a lot of like, oh, okay, we have to save everyone who's enslaved and get them out. And like ultimately, the two brothers like sort of get that done. But they kind of, it's like, hey, we need to build this big net. Why? Just trust us. We need to build a big net. Yeah. So they're doing that whilst a lot of other things are going on.
Yeah, the guy who got imprisoned, he completely independently, just on his own, was like, they need that yellow liquid stuff in order to gas their way past Ebirah. Let's make a fake batch. Let's make it so it looks yellow, but it isn't.
Yeah, I like to think that they made like another liquid. It wasn't quite the right color, so he's like, all right, unzip everyone. Pee in this yellow
Who
up a
here
bit.
is particularly dehydrated today? All right, you go first.
Given the horrific conditions they're in, they may all be dehydrated.
Oh, well, yeah, perfect.
You think these fascists are coming around with gallons of water and making sure everyone's well,
You never know. Maybe they understand the importance of keeping their slave workforce alive.
Okay.
And they're like, well, we're not going to get any new ones. And then the other part of it is, as Godzilla's attacking, they're trying to fight back. They're trying to do what they can. And one of the scientists activates the big old self-destruct button.
Yes.
for the whole island.
Obviously, this predates any of these by a great margin, but I cannot not think of a Resident Evil video game when there's a self-destruct counting down to the ending, because that's very Resident Evil. So
pretty much. The only thing in this is that there's no countdown. It's just eventually it's going to blow up.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't add that in, because they could have easily, even if it was like a caption, just to like give it an extra bit of, oh, we're seconds away, as opposed to it's soonish. It's coming soonish. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
There's a beeping noise. When the beeping noise stops, you're all dead. When's the beeping noise going to stop? Don't worry about it. Just get away.
Whenever we need it to. So, yeah, I mean, Godzilla is, he ends up fighting, obviously, Ebirah again. And the second fight, like, isn't as fun at first. Like, I like that they go under the water, because that's kind of unique to see a little bit of a fight under the water. But it ends up, like, they can't really do much under there, so it ends up not being that exciting once they actually start doing stuff. However... we cut away and we kind of cut back and forth from that stuff. That doesn't all happen in one chunk, but when we do eventually get towards the ending, I do like Godzilla just ripping off both pincers. Like the first one's in his mouth, and then the second one he just grabs off with his arms, and Ebirah's just like, I can't do it.
Ebirah's recoiling, and he's just sitting there going snip, snip.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. The first time they ever like face off against each other, Ebirah like claps his pincers together, and you get like a sort of clapping. It's basically the sound that just one pincer would make, but he's doing it with both. And at the end, when Godzilla's got both his pincers, he starts slapping them together himself in like almost a mocking tone, like, aha, you mother effer, I got you.
Yep. Oh, what are you gonna do now?
How you like them apples?
I may have just missed the shot where it happened, or, you know, everything was underwater, so it was hard to tell. Did he ever, like, definitively kill Ebirah? Like, was there a shot of that, or is it just one of the things where it's like, he's been defeated, goodbye?
I think, yeah, with both pincers falling off, I think he just kind of, like, you know, went into the water. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but I don't think there was, like, a proper kill shot, per se.
No, that's fair. I mean, for new family-friendly Godzilla, that would make sense.
Yeah. This is one that all the kids can enjoy. And also before that, though, before that fight, the ship, but like basically all the people in charge of the fascist group are all leaving on a boat, and they think they've got their yellow stuff, but it's actually the fake stuff that the other guy swapped out. So Ebirah just grabs the ship and the toy, and his pincer, and just picks it up and crushes it. So they all die just a quick horrific death. So yeah, bye bye. You know.
All the bad guys are dead, but now everyone still has to get off the island. And, of course, we intercut with Infant Island. Their dance finally woke up Mothra, and Mothra zooms on over there to take care of business.
Yeah, a little bit of tension of like, oh, is Mothra going to actually get up? But eventually she does. She flies over, and the twins are like, hey, go get on the net, everyone. So Mothra picks them up. But like I said, though, when Mothra flies into the island, there's that moment where Godzilla looks at Mothra and is like, oh, I've got beef. And tries to fight Mothra, but Mothra just kind of repels him a little bit with some wind, you know, some wing flaps and whatnot. And as Mothra's flying them away in the net, they all look down, and the main characters are like, oh, I feel bad for Godzilla. Like, that island's about to blow up. Like, he kind of helped us escape, actually. Like, so they all... I actually thought it was really sweet the way they all start shouting, run. They all start to get out of there, get in the water, get safety. Like, they're all yelling to Godzilla to try and help him. And I'm like, it's oddly sweet given how much we've changed since the first Godzilla to get to this point where they're all actively trying to help him. And ultimately, he kind of gets the message and says, yeah, I'm going to go and jump in the water. And then the island blows up.
He just does a full cannonball. The island blows up behind him.
Yeah, I will say,
everyone cheers.
It didn't really look like a nuclear explosion. I don't know if it was meant to be, but it definitely didn't look like one.
I mean, it didn't need to be, but I also think that, they could have really gone, if they were going to blow up, like, the budget anywhere and really sell it on a miniature, that could have been one that they could have done.
I mean, they had some cool shots of, like, parts of the island splitting in half. They had, like, some miniatures that were sort of, like, the groundbreaking kind of thing, and that was cool. I think in my head, though, because they were making nuclear weapons, the self-destruct itself would be a nuclear weapon, and then it exploded, and I went, oh, I guess it wasn't. I had no reason to think that the self-destruct would be. It didn't have to be. But I figured, oh, it's an island in the middle of the ocean that can be, and without any big consequences. Right. So
look, anytime that we're talking about Godzilla, the idea of nuclear is kind of like sitting there in the background, like, maybe, are we going to do that? It's kind of the theme.
Yeah, maybe what we didn't need is the young character being like, nuclear weapons... Either we should use them wisely or not at all. And then the thief is like, oh yeah, thanks, Professor.
I don't know. I like that was the bit that at the end of the movie, I'm like, okay, we're leaning into the corniness and I'm okay with it. Because it's like, yep, we're going to state the moral here of all the previous movies. And then the guy's like, Shut up. Just shut up.
Yeah, I also think it's weird to say use them wisely or not at all. No, you should just be saying don't use them at all. Like use them what's wise to you? Like aliens are invading, so you can launch them at that.
Exactly how we used them in the last movie, or would have anyway.
Yeah.
Also, I love that earlier on in this movie when they're talking about like, or they're moving around the island and they're like trying to break into the different areas, trying to figure out what's going on. We see this extended long sequence of the thief is like, it's a combination lock and he's listening to it. He's all up close, whatever. There are guards like literally right next to them, but he's still managing to break in. And finally he gets it open. He's like, all right, everyone inside. And they all step in and they're immediately like, get out. It's like a fusion reactor chamber in there. We should not be going in there.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Also, the second in command, I mean, there's not really that much characterization to any of the villains in this, the humans, but the second in command with the eye patch is literally the same actor who wore the eye patch in the first Godzilla movie, the scientist. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He changed.
I mean, his photo's there, and it says Captain Yamato, and he's the guy from the first movie, so I'm sure...
Fair enough.
Because it's not the older guy, because the older guy with the mustache, that's a different guy. The one that's higher
I don't
up.
actually have IMDb open for this one, because I found that for the Godzilla movies, one of the like fan wikis is actually so much more informative across the board.
Yeah, no, that's
so
fair.
I just have that open.
No, because his photo on IMDb is literally the photo of him from the first Godzilla, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
Otherwise, I don't think I would have noticed, but it was funny to me when I noticed that photo and went, wait, is he the guy with the eye patch again?
Right.
Because he's got like a decorative eye patch, this little lieutenant dude.
It's weird, like, okay, you want to recast actors to show back up in Godzilla as separate characters. That's fine. Like, it's a little bit strange that you wouldn't just put in a different actor. But to put the same actor in twice, both times in an eye patch, feels intentional.
But hey, I mean, and that's the movie. Like, honestly, there's not a whole lot to dig into. There's a fun couple of funny fight moments. I do like the absurdity of like the weird chain of events of the plot, and I really appreciate kind of the a little bit of the heart at the end and kind of some of the cornier things. Now, would it have been nice to care a little bit more about the main characters? Sure, but I think they're entertaining enough as vessels for the story.
It's once you get past the intro sequence where it's just throw everything at the wall to get them on the island. I did like how no matter how we split up the characters, each of them still was doing something that impacted at the end of the movie. Yeah, because it wasn't a thing where it felt like anyone just pissed off and then showed back up. Yeah, because
the guy who got captured, like, he learns about the yellow liquid that's repelling. So he's finding out something important and he accomplishes something with that. The brother is going to the other island to find his brother and like, we're going to come back with the information about the net so everyone can get saved at the end. The other characters wake up Godzilla and everyone gets something to do. It doesn't feel like they're just there for whatever. But you could have equally just started this movie with the characters on a boat looking for the brother, and that's just why they're there, right? You don't need all the steps of like the dance competition, the sidekick, just my brother went missing and we're already starting in media res here, like we're looking for him. Ebirah attacks, end up on island.
you got one character who is the brother. He is absolutely dead set on doing this. You got the other two who are crewmates and they're like, we've been at this forever. This is hopeless. We shouldn't be continuing out there anymore, to make them a bit more hesitant. And then you got a stowaway, and that's the thief. And he just shows up. You can skip the first 10 minutes of this movie if you just do that.
Yeah. Having said that, though, I think in this movie's case, it would make the movie less interesting. But I think objectively, if you were writing like a movie you wanted to be taken seriously, that's how you would start this.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole extra bit of like, are you the thief? Are you the one who stole this stuff? The most it comes back is at the very end of the movie. As they're looking down at Godzilla, he's like, I'm thinking of turning over a new leaf. And it's like... I don't know why. All of your skills are what literally saved us here. So you should keep doing that.
Yep. I don't know what to tell you.
There was one shot, just because I was clicking through as we were talking, I had to bring up, and it was I think it was the first time we see the balloon as it's acting as like a search object for them. I'm assuming this wouldn't have shown up on like old school film grain or something like that. But here in HD, you can very clearly tell that the balloon is blown up or whatever, and it's being viewed at from below, but they're holding it in place with like a blue canvas or a blue tarp or something over top of it. That's just kind of sky colored, and it is super obvious.
Yeah. Some of the compositing on like the twins when they're walking on the beach at one point is like super obvious. You can see the cutout of like how they were inserted in. Yeah, I mean, some of the effects are a bit ropey.
Yeah, when Godzilla peeks over the mountains, I think that's another one that it's like, oh, there's definitely the line where Godzilla's on this side of the frame and the girl's on the other.
Yep. But I think you can accept that and enjoy the cheesiness of this one.
Well, that's the thing. I think if the movie was taking itself more seriously, I'd actually have more of a gripe with it, because I'd be like, oh, you are putting in the effort there, but you're not putting in the effort over here. The fact that it's all just a little bit cheap and corny, I'm like, yeah, all right. We're just having fun. We're doing whatever we can here.
Yep. So, not bad. Not bad at all. I had fun with this one.
Yeah.
All right, David, let's rate Ebirah Horror of the Deep out of 10.
All right. So I gave the last one a 6. Do I think this is on the same level as that still, or do I think that we have taken a full step down?
You were a bit more negative on the last one than I was, if I recall correctly.
I was. I mean, we both gave it a 6, but I did definitely come in more negative. My scale's just not calibrated to yours. I think that the corniness and the cheesiness of this one and my ability to adapt to that is keeping this one afloat at a 6 still. I think it is still perfectly fine. I don't think it's quite at the 5 mark yet. Maybe it's the Ebirah's entire design that's keeping it there, because I do love the design of it. I know what a 5 looks like, and this isn't it yet. It's just not quite there. So for me, I'm still going to say a 6.
Yep. I think it's at least still a 6. And I think I love the alien stuff for the last one. I think this one may arguably slightly more entertaining than the monster stuff. So I think this is probably actually a little bit better than the last one overall in terms of fun. But maybe not enough to actually go up a score. Just being it's kind of a very fine line. But I think that's what I would say. So
okay. So keeping it at a 6?
Yeah, keep it at a 6. 6 out of 10.
All right. Now, before we move on, before we start wrapping up here, I do want to say, in going to this fan wiki of the movie, apparently, when this was starting pre-production, it was originally just going to be a King Kong movie. Oh. And it was just a find and replace of King Kong to Godzilla in order to get this produced, because it was literally just King Kong was in a cavern knocked out, and then all the other stuff stayed pretty much exactly the same.
Fun. Yeah, I guess, it makes sense. You could easily just swap them over and just effectively have King Kong come out and fight Ebirah instead, and so on and so on.
My only thing is that the original story still had Mothra in it, and that would have been the first time we had King Kong and Mothra, and that would have been cool.
Yeah, that's interesting, yeah. Especially without Godzilla being there as kind of the sort of the friend of the friend kind of thing, like he's there to introduce them, as it were.
Maybe they'd be buddies, who knows?
It is interesting though, because it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, I assume it was still a Japanese-made King Kong movie that was being planned, and it was like, I guess something happened where they said, you know what, no, we're going to like kind of keep a tighter hold on our rights to King Kong, Universal that is, or whoever would it be doing at the time. I suspect that's maybe why.
Yeah, I have no idea. Apparently there was a animated TV series called The King Kong Show, and that had something to do with it, but I don't know whether that was the reason it was greenlit as King Kong to begin with, or if that's why they said, wait, hold on, we want to stick with that continuity. Yeah.
And interesting real world lore, though, for that. That's cool. But I'll tell you what's coming next time on the Atomic Cinema Experiment. And that would be a film called Enemy Mine, which won a vote on Patreon. It was just a vote of different 80s movies, I think, that we hadn't done yet, and Enemy Mine's the one that won. I have never seen Enemy Mine, so I don't know what to expect from this.
Same. I feel like I have in my mind the correct movie, but it beats me.
I know what the poster looks like, but other than that, I could not tell you a single thing about it. So
all right,
that is what's
we'll be surprised
coming next week on the show. And of course, if you want to support the Atomic Cinema Experiment, you can do that over at Patreon or via YouTube membership as an alternative to get some of the bonus content. But mainly, you're supporting to help keep everything coming, and you get access to the ratings rundown segments for each episode, as well as a monthly bonus show called Extra Reels, where we review some of the worst movies ever made. Occasionally, they do dip into sci-fi territory if they're applicable, but there's a variety of things. We recently did Catwoman, the 2004 Halle Berry movie. That lived up to its reputation. So if you want to hear us rant about that, you've got an opportunity to. But yeah, thanks to everyone who already supports us. It really does help keep the show coming, as well as Collector's Cut. We're got a couple of standalones over there right now. The Odyssey's coming up. That'll be the big new release we're doing. And after that, we got Submarine Season, if that sounds like fun. So... good times ahead. But that is the show, everyone, and I'm not forgetting David's homework because he doesn't do it for the Godzilla episodes. So
you did it. It only took 3 episodes running.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time. Keep watching science fiction and computer ad salsa.